With Dave Canales attempting to shake things up by starting Andy Dalton on Sunday against the Las Vegas Raiders, would you believe that there are many that said that the Panthers season would be salvaged? Well, you better believe it. Want to find out how the Panthers fared? Find out next on Growlin' and Prowlin'. Welcome back, Growlers. Thank you so much for tuning in. Of course, I am the one and only Mr. CeeLo. And as many of you know, I was not a fan of the benching. And since the subsequent benching, there have been rumors galore. And I will try to do a show about that later on. But right now, this is the talk. And I have to get to a little bit of laundry. But first of all, how are you guys doing? I'm sure you guys are doing great. And of course, I'm doing the show. And, well, it's already been 2 days. You guys already know the Panthers prevailed 36-22. But we will get to that in a little bit as we have some business to attend to. As there was a lot of clowning. I'm going to try to keep the clowning to a minimum because I want you guys, when you comment on the groups, also comment on the show when you watch it. Please do. I definitely want feedback from the groups that I am. Oh my gosh, you guys, you just don't know how much feedback I got back from the Bryce Young was failed by the organization. I'm still getting stuff, guys. I am still getting lit up by this thing. And I mean, it's a good thing, but then again, I want people to be able to voice their opinions and get their opinions out there. I'm so grateful to the groups that are allowing me to do this, because there's a lot of groups, they don't want, external type of feedback. They just want to be within the group. But I always give these groups a growl out, and I will continue to do so. But as far as the best comment that I had on any of it, of course, Keep Pounding is always one of my favorite go-tos. I'm always giving these guys a growl out. They are really exceptional when it comes to that. But looking back at what was said, this is from Can Dalton give the Panthers life? And this came from, of course, I had 18 comments on this post. And at least there's hope. I think so. And somebody said, Johnny said if Dalton does bad too, then it's either coaching, O-line, or both. And here's the problem. It can be either of those. It's just the quarterback is capable of reading fast and so on and so forth. But I'm going to say that you guys are not going to like what I got to say at the end of this, because I still don't think this is all on Bryce. And as I said, if you watch the show, you will understand why I feel this way. And I've gotten a lot of comments from people saying that Bryce is just garbage, and I will read a few of them. And I'm not agreeing with that. I'm never going to agree that Bryce is just garbage, because you don't win a national championship. And I am going to go into depth about that. Lots of reactions to this post about Bryce and Andy Dalton, and lots of comments as well. But I'm going to try to be selective in what I do. I've never read anything from Carolina Panthers Zone. This is another group that I am affiliated with. Thank you so much for allowing me here. And then Gonzalez says, no, just going to prove how dysfunctional our organization really is. And then somebody named Linda hit him up and said, glad you were wrong. Linda, that doesn't change the fact that we're still dysfunctional. I mean, we can sit here and talk all day about what the Panthers organization did wrong with Bryce. I mean, we can sit here and go back and forth, back and forth. But the reality of it is, I just watched an episode of Around the Horn today, and they talked about how well Jaden Daniels played and how they catered the system to his skill set. Bryce Young wouldn't be uncomfortable in Charlotte if the system were for him. That's what I don't understand, why people are saying this is more about Bryce Young and not the mishandling of this guy. I don't see very many plays that Bryce Young is comfortable with, especially since the early last year when they were calling a lot of those across the field seam routes. A lot of those deep crosser plays with Adam Thielen. And he was hitting them at least once a week. Those are his type of plays, going up the field. He finally, I give you proof. You guys don't believe me? Watch this. Bryce was on the bench last year and Dalton took over when he was in Seattle. When he came back the very next week against the Packers, I want you to look at this now. I want you to take a look at this. Watch this. Watch this. Bryce Young, 23 of 36. 312 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. No interception. Excuse me. My bad, Bryce. Now, this is important. Why? He was only sacked twice. Not to mention, the Panthers lost this game. I hope I didn't say win, but they lost this game. But Shark had a huge game. 6 catches, 98 yards, 2 scores. And he had a long of 22 yards. Matter of fact, Bryce Young's long for the game was 30 yards, and it went to Tommy Tremble. Probably one of the more difficult things that I've had to watch was trying to understand why there's no implement of the tight ends more. I saw more tight ends plays called this weekend than I saw the entire time with Bryce. And there were more outlets. More running back outlets. And honestly, I don't know if that's by design or what it was. But I will also tell you, for people to sit there and criticize Bryce and say this guy ain't born with the tools, and there's going to be a couple I'm going to say it with, you don't throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns if you ain't got something. And then had no picks in the game. 0. Now, let us go back to Sunday. Well, let's go back to the comments that we had on the Andy Dalton show. Can Andy Dalton do his thing and get us back to the promised land? And as I said, I don't have a problem with you voicing your opinion. I really do not. I just want you guys to express something more than just because. Because here's the reality. Whether people want to admit it or not, Andy Dalton is not the long-term solution. He's 36. He's not. Some of you have said that he needs to sit and learn. I hear that. Not a problem with that. But let's look here. Bryce Young was never an NFL QB. He has no physical attributes that make him exceptional. The Panthers should have never drafted him. Okay, Thad Barker. Drew Brees didn't have any kind of resounding things that he could do. Tom Brady sure didn't. Go back. Look. Brock Purdy doesn't. There are tons of quarterbacks that are in the NFL and have been successful. They ain't got nothing crazy good about them. Eli Manning just had the last name. Eli Manning's going to go to the Hall of Fame more than likely for 2 moments in his career. Maybe 3. There's nothing special about Eli. His 2 Super Bowls he won because the defensive fronts were that good. It was when the Giants were the only ones that were saying, hey, let's put 3 defensive ends on the front line in passing situations, or even 4 at times. That defense won those Super Bowls. Not to mention, when you look at some of Russell Wilson, he's another one. He's not exceptional in anything. He has a strong arm, but you sit there and make it sound like that a player has to be exceptional at the quarterback position. He doesn't. He does not. You have it. I think cerebral is very important. And I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is a problem in Jacksonville. He's having some issues. He's good mobility, strong arms, statute, great. But he's just got some things he's got to work out. Same thing with Bryce. So your comment is null and void. But thank you for the comment nonetheless. I've got to throw this one. These two guys are going to be my gabbers of the week. Thad Parker, because you gave such a good comment. And Lewis Winthorpe III. Now, if any of you guys don't know anything about the movie Trading Places, there was a character that Dan Aykroyd, the great Dan Aykroyd, played. His name was Winthorpe Lewis III. And he's got the picture and everything. This is absolutely hilarious. Bruh.
Growl out.
To you. I don't like the comment, but goodness gracious, this is just absolutely hilarious. No, he's just horrible. Absolutely horrible. Zach Wilson took a lot of grief from the national media and every yokel with a YouTube channel, and he showed 1,000 times better than Young ever has. Andy Dalton ended this discussion today. I love your name, but I don't agree with you. I don't agree. I agree with a few portions of it, but not the whole thing. I don't think Zach Wilson is anywhere near where Bryce Young is. I don't think Zach Wilson. No. I knew Zach Wilson was going to be issued when you look at where he played and the 2 bowl games he played in, and he couldn't hold up against substantial competition. I think majority of you people forget the overrated SEC is still one of the toughest conferences athletic-wise. You're not going to just win the Southeastern Conference and not only do that, but you're continuously winning football games and being in football games as the quarterback at the helm of Alabama, the University of Alabama. And see, I think the issue we're running into is Bryce Young is not only not running his system, but you look at Tua Tagovailoa. Tua's had a lot of problems until they got the right pieces and the right system with McDaniels. There was a moment that he was going to be a bust, and I want all you guys to bookmark this. Tua was about on the verge of being a bust until you got Jalen Waddle figured out, and then you got Tyreek Hill figured out. And what I mean by that is you had an offense that was predicated on speed. Maybe that's where Bryce needs to go, especially with trade talks out there. Let us finish up with David. Bryce Young sucks. It's all on him. He got picked, one, and doesn't match the skills needed for the and again, David, I'll say it like this: you do not have the skills and last at Alabama in one of the toughest conferences in the country, and then win a national championship. Just saying. The Panthers are a complete failure all around. This is Yosef, 82. If Tepper would agree to move the team, I hereby volunteer to drive the lead U-Haul and take them anywhere on the planet but North Carolina. They have been an embarrassment since they came into the league. Okay, I don't know if you're referring to the Panthers or you're referring to Tepper. Because I'm not embarrassed by the Carolina Panthers. I mean, I am right now. This win is huge for us because it erases the narrative that we, I guess you could say, an issue within our locker room. But I think ultimately this stops the bleeding for now. But I don't think we should move the team. I would never move the team. I would more or less push for Tepper to sell the team. Yeah, because we still got the coolest logo and colors in the entire NFL. I don't care what anybody says. But let's look at the game, you guys. As I said before, 36-22. the Panthers looked absolutely like a totally different football team, and whether it was the rushing game, whether it was the passing game, everything just seemed to click. Everything just seemed to be working today, and we had 12 drives. We ran 70 plays to the Raiders 59 for 437 yards. Andy Dalton threw for 306. Chuba Hubbard, and that's another thing I got to touch on. Many of you guys said Chuba Hubbard sucked as a runner. Yeah, you might want to check it because there was a lot of you saying we needed another running back, which is why we ended up drafting another one. That was a mistake. Not saying he's not going to be a good player, but that was still a mistake. We had a running back. Chuba Hubbard, 21 carries, 114 yards. Miles Sanders, who's still been a total disappointment, 7 carries, 17 yards. Mingo had a tote, but we ran for 131 yards total and a score that belonged to Sanders, whom Hubbard should have got it because he did the majority of the work. And Deontay Johnson had a game. He had a game. And it's going to be a huge need for him to keep playing well because we lost Adam Thielen. Right now they're saying it's a hamstring injury. On that 31-yard beautiful throw and catch that he made in the end zone. And then, of course, Hubbard also caught the ball 5 times for 55 yards and a touchdown. Did I just say Chuba Hubbard? 5 catches, 55 yards, and a score? And they say he couldn't be an all-around back. I'd say that's pretty good. A receiving touchdown and a rushing. Should have been a rushing touchdown. Canellis. The heck you give it to Miles Sanders for? I don't get that. Hubbard deserved that touchdown, not only because he's on. He did bulk of the work, but he's on my fantasy team too.
Bruh.
Leggett had 42 yards on 2 receptions, including a 35-yarder. Now, what I'm seeing is I'm seeing Trimble had 3 for 29 and 20. Mingo 3 for 18 and 15, and had a wonderful block, guys. I'm hearing so many people say he was a dud in this game. He didn't do this right, and it's like, really? This guy's doing the dirt. But here's the reality. At some point, I'm telling you guys are getting upset, and are probably gonna be really upset and say I'm being salty when I say this. Dalton's gonna hurt us. If you know his career at Cincinnati, it's only a matter of time. If you even followed his career a little bit in New Orleans, he's going to hurt us. And I'm not trying to be mean to Andy. I'm not trying to beat down on him. But he goes through moments where he plays well, and then he goes through those moments where you're thinking, what was that? He goes through moments where you look at him and you go, what the And then there's moments he goes through and he's hitting everything, and then you wonder he couldn't hit the backside of a barn. Now, do I think he's the answer at the moment? I think right now what you need to be doing if you're Dave Canellis, you need to be trying to figure out what makes your quarterback comfortable. And I think the ultimate problem you ran into is you didn't know what you were dealing with. Everybody keeps sitting here saying that it's on Bryce. Bryce has to learn the system. Bryce has to learn the system. But the problem is look at Jaden Daniels. When you get a guy that's number 1, number 2, you got to realize one thing. If you draft this kid number 1, number 2, you have to know what you're getting. And when Dave Canellis took the job last year, his job was to know what he was getting. And we threw the ball down the field a lot. Matter of fact, there were 2 throws. One of them I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to have in the background. I want you to look. There's a couple of throws on here that Andy Dalton throws into coverage. And he squeaked one of them through. If I recall correctly, one of them was to Leggett, that 35-yarder he had. It was one of those that's high risk, high reward. He split 2 defenders. And the touchdown he throws to Johnson on the corner of the end zone. Listen, that's a throw that if it's not perfect, you guys, that could be intercepted or incomplete. So, yes, while we applaud Andy Dalton, I'm going to applaud him. But those are types of plays that could turn around and go the other way. They're, as I said, the high risk, high reward. And what, for more than what people say, yes, we drafted Young because he was cerebral. He was accurate. He's supposed to make those throws. We've seen him make some of those throws, but I'm of the belief that you have to simplify things for a quarterback that is not accustomed to your system. Not his system, your system. That's all I'm going to say about that. Offensively, line looked good. Running game opened up a lot of holes. I got to take a minute and just give I got to give a growl out to Mike Jackson. Oh my goodness, this guy straight balled out. There ain't no other way to say it. Mike Jackson is straight balling out. I don't care what anybody says. This guy is just doing his thing. He is showing that signing of Mike Jackson during the cuts was a phenomenal signing. Great find, General Manager Morgan. Great job. Josie Jewell had a pretty good game, and then LeBron Ray had a sack on the day, as well as Jaden Peavy. Jadeveon Clowney finally got a sack, had a tackle for a loss. Yeah, all in all, it was a pretty darn good game for these guys defensively. And we gotta push forward. We gotta push forward. We gotta make things different. Oh, and Jackson also recorded an interception. I forgot about that. So there are things that we as this team has to get better at. And honestly, Canellis has got his job worked out for him. See, he's going to have to come up with a game plan for Andy Dalton, and he's going to have to come up with a game plan for Bryce Young. You've got to try to figure this young man out, figure out what's best for him, what he runs. And as I said, you guys, I'm very proud of what we were able to do. And if you guys saw the reel that I have up, Andy Dalton is the only player and the first player to throw for 300 yards and throw 3 touchdowns in the same game in 2024. Now, all I'm going to say is we need to enjoy this, Panther Nation, but don't get crazy, because right now a lot of you are high as a kite. I'm going to tell you right now. Do not let the Cincinnati Bengals hurt your feelings. They have not won a game. And the last time we played the Bengals, they whooped us like we stole something. Don't do it. I get it. The Red Rifles got something to prove because he's going home. But I'm going to tell you something. Some guys also fold up when they play their old teams. Get it through your head. But excellent job by Canellis' coaching staff. I just want to see Bryce Young get the same opportunity, call the same type of plays. But you got to also remember, they're not going to be playing the same defense. Antonio Pierce doesn't like to do a whole lot of blitzing. Panthers 36, Raiders 22. Make sure you hit me up at Instagram and at Mr. CeeLo. Also, make sure you comment down in the show. Winthorpe Lewis III, you guys are awesome. Thad Parker, yeah. I gotta throw you guys in there. You guys were great. And the group of the day is going to be Carolina Panthers Zone. So, guys, keep the comments coming, but just make sure you're respectful. Understand that if you don't bring a lot of facts and facts-based to the conversation, you don't really have a point. You're just going off of opinion. I get it. You want the Panthers to be successful. But you got to understand the handling of this was not right. Many analysts have come out and said it. Paul Feinbaum, whom I don't agree with. And if guys, you have heard what Mel Kiper Jr. said on the show. But let's focus. Let's keep cheering our boys on. Here's the thing, guys. If we're not trading Bryce Young, let's stop trashing him. Let's encourage him. Let's get behind him. Because it takes a lot to stand on that sideline after you've been benched. Not to mention when the guy that was supposed to be backing you up comes in, not only wins the game, but makes it look good, and you have to stand right there at the tunnel with that captain on your chest, and you greeting your guys walking into the tunnel after the game. Now, if you can't respect that, then yes, you need to be out of Panther Nation. We don't need fans like you. Because it's not like Bryce went out there and made out himself after he got benched. He's taking it with humility, and that is what y'all need to do. Because there's many of y'all that embraced Bryce when it first happened, including Steve Smith. We need to support him, not run him out of town. This ain't Pittsburgh. This ain't Philadelphia. We supposed to be better than that. As I said, leave comments down, and also go to the Facebook of Growling and Prowling. Join the fam, and so forth, and let me know what you think. Also, tell me ways that I can make the show better. As you know, I've slowly taken a lot of things out of the show and added some things. But let me know what you think. What can I do to do better? But until the next time, keep prowling the airwaves and keep growling out. Keep pounding.